And now I'd like to pass it over to Elvis, who will tell you guys a little bit more about the museum and what they have to offer.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending today. This is a very special event, and I hope it's the beginning of a lot of more events dedicated to real estate, because this is really your museum. This is the only museum in Florida that is dedicated to civic arts. Civic arts is basically what we call the poetry of real estate, which is architecture, urban design, interior design, all of that. And of course, Coral Gables has a very, very inspirational story to tell when it comes to architecture and urban design. And so there's no other museum like this in the whole state of Florida. The closest that you're gonna get to a museum like this is in Washington, is the National Building Museum, which was basically the model for this museum when it was created 14 years ago. So believe me when I say that this is really your home. That is why we have in the board, and I want to thank again Eduardo Taola, Alirio Torrealba. They are both members of the board, and a recent, very recent acquisition, Tere Sheldon Bernace, also from the real estate industry, is really very, very special for us that we're bringing these new board members so that we can encourage all of you to really become part of the museum family. We have different levels of membership, as you can imagine. This is a very beautiful building. It's a historic building from 1939. We're right now waiting for the city to approve permits so we're gonna have new hardwood floors, and we're gonna have a new projector, much bigger with a very large screen. So in the first few months, we're gonna have a totally revamped community meeting room, which is the name of this room, until someone comes up with, a couple of $1 million, and then we can name it after them. And yes, all about naming rights, right? Real estate. Yes, it's totally available. Yes, yes. And all the galleries, by the way, there is only 3 galleries that have names so far. So again, I want to thank all the sponsors, especially MG Developer, Constellation, but also One Sotheby's. They have been with the museum for a long time. And I want to thank Dimitri and Katya for putting this amazing event together. We'd already told them, this is your museum. I want you to feel like that, because this is exactly what it is. And I love realtors. I was a realtor in New Jersey before moving here. So I know what all the struggles in the industry right now, and I think that it's very important that we keep an open mind for new changes. We're actually preparing an exhibition in the fall that is going to be dedicated to AI in different uses in industry, and that includes also, of course, real estate, architecture, urban design. So from now, I just wanted to let you know this is something that is in preparation now. So before you leave, don't forget to take the membership brochure that we have. There is a lot of events, and especially for people 20 to 40, we have the Young Associates of Coral Gables Museum. They meet, they have a happy hour networking event the first Thursday of every month, and it's a growing, very interesting group, so please join the museum. Thank you so much.
And now I would like to call up our first panel of the day, titled Women in Real Estate. Oh, and you guys come up, but I just want to give a quick shout out to Shamir from Contempo Space. They built all of their furniture here in the United States. So if you're a developer and you're waiting for stuff overseas in Europe, call Shamir. Ladies, would like to call you up. And this is a really special panel. I think that women in real estate have always been underrepresented. So the more light that we can shine on some of the things that all of these beautiful and smart and successful women are doing, I think it makes me feel better about filling up panels with only men typically. So let's give a round of applause to our lovely ladies today. And this panel will be moderated by Dulce Maria from Banesco, and she will be guiding our conversation today.
Thank you so much, Katya, and welcome everybody. For me, it's a privilege actually to be here and share with you. I am a Senior Vice President and Senior Credit Officer at Banesco. I've had the honor of being there for 5 years, and I've had the honor of being part of their credit department. So we support activities related to real estate, and I would like to go ahead and have all the ladies next to me please go ahead and introduce themselves and where they're from and what roles they play at each of their organizations.
Hi, thank you, Dulce. I'm extremely happy to be here today. My name is Vanessa Stabile, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for One Sotheby's International Realty. Thank you.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming today. My name is Cassie Resnick. I'm a managing director with Mast Capital. I help with the acquisitions of the firm as well as executing all of our business plans.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Paysse. I am the Vice President of Development, Sales, and Marketing with Cervera Real Estate. I help oversee the in-house sales operations for many of our developments, and I'm very honored to be here today.
And my name is Katya Demina. I am the co-founder of Profile, and I also work for Royal Palm Companies as an EB5 and sales consultant.
All right, so let's welcome them all with a round of applause. And thank you. Well, I think that the first question that we should all ask each one of these ladies is, how did they all get involved in real estate, which historically has been a primarily male-dominated industry? So, Vanessa, do you want to lead us?
Absolutely. So I'd say that I was born into real estate because my father, who's here, was a real estate developer. My brother is a real estate developer, and now my husband is a real estate developer. And my sister is with One Sotheby's International Realty. So real estate is in my blood. I'm very passionate about it. I love the industry, and it's been an incredible ride for the last 20 years of working in real estate.
Wow, incredible. 20 years is a long time. I'm sure you've journeyed through a lot of things through those 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely some very interesting cycles, some incredible developments that we've represented, and now I have the honor of managing our 32 offices all along Florida's East Coast.
All right, well, we'll get back to what projects are near and dear to you, but go ahead, Cassie, if you want to share a bit.
Sure, I didn't have Vanessa's direction. So my parents are attorneys, and no one has any experience in real estate in my family. I have a background in hospitality. I think like most people, started working their way through college, getting any job I could, which was serving at restaurants and working at hotels and being a little bit of an entrepreneur and starting, some businesses just to try to help pay for school. After school, I got lucky and wound up in investment banking. Not lucky in the fact that that's a job I never want to do again, but it opened up a lot of doors. And after investment banking, one of those doors was getting into real estate and working either for a large developer in New York City or working more on the investment sales side. And so I started working for Jones Lang LaSalle in the hospitality division and just really loved real estate, loved the story, loved that it was tangible, and then wound up pivoting with a new company at the time in 2011, Mast Capital, and have been with them ever since. And we've done a lot of real estate deals in the last 15 years.
So also a long timer. You've been there 15 years as well.
Yes.
All right, Alicia, a little bit about yourself.
So I also grew up in the business. I am actually a third generation Alicia, and my family business is Cervera Real Estate. So coming out of school, I might have tried to do something else, but there were not a lot of real estate related jobs in 2009. Wow. So I got my real estate license and started working in sales and projects when people were like, can I have a tour? It was like Wall Street's biggest default, HSBC's white elephant. And I was like, sure. But it was really a wonderful learning experience to start in kind of like just problem solving stage and get into sales, which incredibly really did start happening again in late 2009. And also for the past 15 years, I've been working with our company pretty much in every role, from receptionist to contract administrator to salesperson, assistant sales director, regional manager, coffee maker extraordinaire, and now I'm VP of Development Sales. So
I was also the resident cafecito maker at my office. And it's a very important skill to have in South Florida.
That might be more valuable than the real estate.
Oh, 100,000%. It paid off dividends, and it still does today. I started my career in real estate in college. I got into sales, and I was an agent. And then Dimitri and I simultaneously started Profile at the same time. And it was originally as a hobby or meant to be a sales generation tool for selling real estate. And then we realized, this actually has legs. People want to hear about, the news. They want to hear about, these people who are quasi celebrities, especially in Miami. Real estate is it, right? And I got so seduced by the developers that we were writing about that I said, I want to do that. And so I started to get my master's in real estate development at and then simultaneously I was reaching out to developers and saying, I want to work for you, but I have absolutely no experience. And so 3 of them that I emailed got back to me, and one of them was Dan Codsey from Royal Palm Companies. And he offered me the job. I said, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to be doing, but I'm definitely dropping out of the master's to go get paid to learn. And so I did that, and I was there for 4 years, and just like Alicia, I did everything, from design to marketing to managing, asset management and everything in between. And it was a wonderful learning experience. And then recently I just decided to, go back to Profile and do that full time.
Oh, that's incredible. You guys all have such amazing careers and histories of how you got into this. And I wanted to sort of ask, because you guys went through the crisis that happened, I wanted to ask what challenges you guys have been through in your careers and how being a woman sort of helped you navigate those waters. Katya, you want to start?
Well, I wasn't really working yet at that time, if you're talking about 08.
Oh, yeah, well.
I'll let one of the other ladies take that one.
I'll let Vanessa start.
No, I definitely, that's a pivotal year for my career. Early in my career in 2008, I was working for a developer here in Coral Gables. They were developing Old Spanish Village, which is right where they built the plaza. And in 2008, with the downturn, our developer, he had to let go of all the staff because the project was canceled. And during that time, it was, that's where I met my husband, actually, who's here today. And I met, that's what led me to One Sotheby's, was working on that development. But it was, like I said, a pivotal year because of the crash and everything that the company went through. And I was lucky enough to be able to stay working alongside the developer. And during that 1 year, like you said, where there were no real estate jobs, the developer was a famous Cuban American. His name was Ralph Sanchez. And we wrote his memoir about how he came from Cuba to Miami and how he developed the Miami Speedway and Homestead and how he became a real estate developer. So it was a very special year for me, having worked for him. Yes.
That's really pivoting.
Yes, absolutely.
During that time. Incredible.
I was going to ask which crisis, because it seems like in real estate, traditionally, when you look at trends, every 5 to 7 years, there's value changes, right? And you try to time it so that you're buying when things are going down and selling when things are going up. I started my career investment banking, kind of had the rug pulled out from under me. The tech market at that time in 2006, 2007 was starting to decline first before real estate. And so they started to shave all the people that were analysts at this investment bank. And so walked into work one day, got laid off and was out of the building within 10 minutes, and was kind of an eye-opener to me at my first job, being like, wow, lived in San Francisco, I had rent, I had all these bills, and yet I have no job. That's never happened to me before. But I think what it made me do is pivot and work harder than anyone else, and landed in real estate. The market was still going up in 2007. We were really busy on the investment and sales side. We got 15 offers on every property, and then the market stopped. And things kind of took a pause, and you just watched the stock market crashing each day. And then the people who've experienced the firm said, this is great. This is going to create opportunity. This location is what creates opportunity. So then for the next 2 years, we were creating maps showing people, don't worry, New York's not going anywhere. Look at the values over time. And it changed who you were selling properties from. You were selling, instead of, people looking to get upward movement, people looking to either get downward movement or getting other people's distress. So our clients changed, but there was always liquidity in the market. And so I think that's something over time you just learn that, dislocation is good, especially if you're trying to buy real estate. Those are the opportunities you look for. And you always have to be a little bit more, say, inclined for risk than others, to get into the market. So I think it's one of those things you'll see over time in your career, or you already have, that dislocation is good. No one ever times the market well. You always have to adapt because the market always changes. But it's always there. Values always come back.
It's true. And Alicia, how did you navigate in 2009 and subsequently?
So I was new. In 2009, it was my first year on the sales floor, if you will. And I didn't know where to start. So I remember my mom said to me, because, it's not like there was a ton of people flocking around looking for real estate at that time in the condo space. She said, just be the first one in, the last one out, and unless it's illegal, unethical, or immoral, if someone asks you to do something, just say yes. And I was like, okay. So I did just that. And at that time, everything was not digital. So there were people that would come in just looking like deer in headlights. Like, I bought a unit, or I sold a unit. This client lives in whatever, Timbuktu. I need a copy of the contract, and you have to go find the file, take it out of the folder with the double clip things, put it into the printer copier, scan it to yourself, go back to the, it was across the building too, because the contract administrator's office. So I did a lot of just the non-glamorous things, but people don't forget that, people remember later when they have a client and they come in and then there's a bunch of smiley salespeople trying to get the business. They remember that you went back and forth 30 times for them, made copies of all of their previous contracts, tried to help them get through. So I find that, when things are bad, just focusing on the fundamental service that your profession is there to execute is the best way to just stay in the game, make a name for yourself, and really in stride when the market pivots back to somewhere where there's movement.
I agree with you there. And I'll actually share a little bit about myself. In 2009, I had to pivot also because working in credit, what ended up happening was we had a series of loans that did not behave as initially intended. And one of the things that I learned during that period of time was really how to treat customers so that they would come back when things got better. And depending on how we worked with clients was how clients would come back. And we did see many cases where clients really stepped up to the plate. And so, yes, you can analyze lots of things on paper, and that's fine. But I really did see a lot of ethical people who really stepped up to the plate where numbers would not make sense. And I really valued that opportunity to see that. And we've been able to do business subsequently with people like that. So it was a really eye-opening experience for me as well during that time. So with that in mind, I now going to a bit of a more positive side. Any particular projects that you have that are near and dear to your heart that you would like to share? I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah.
Alicia, you want to start?
Yeah. So I think that your first kind of big win is always something that you have that's near and dear. So there was a project. I'm not going to name it because.
Okay. No, don't worry. It's a conflict.
There was this project. It's closed, and everyone has possession, and But it was my first time kind of taking on more of a leadership role where I actually was actively involved in managing all the pricing and inventory releases and all of the things that happen that then the salespeople are able to sell with that. And I had really a tremendous amount of autonomy for my age, and it went really well. And I remember later, after the fact, thank God they did not tell me this in the moment, because I would have made different decisions probably had I known that so many people were second guessing me. that the equity partners of the project had called my mother, and they were like, "Listen, we're extremely concerned about the price increases that your daughter has implemented in this building so quickly." But it's just, it and I would have probably pulled back had I known. But ultimately, it was very successful. They really exceeded what their projections were, and it was just fun, having a little bit of momentum for a change, or a lot of momentum. And so, yeah, I think that was.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Oh my goodness. Cassie?
So I'll actually talk a little bit about a project that Vanessa and I worked on, because it's kind of a fun story about how the Louvre House, which was a development south of Fifth, came together. So there was a site that was marketed south of Fifth in Miami Beach for sale, and we bought the lot. Next to the lot, there was a small multifamily building with which I thought was 8 units that had folios on Property Appraiser. So Camilo Miguel, who's the fund manager, said, "Okay, you have 3 months to get this building put together, because otherwise I'm gonna have to pay Renee Gonzalez, who's a wonderful architect, way too much money to redesign the building. Go." So it's like, okay. He's like, "By the way, you can do this." It's like, all right. So I was like, how do I do this? So I had 3 months to convince 8 people I've never met to sell me their home at, I wouldn't say a huge price. I'd say a little bit of a premium over market, but maybe like 20%. So went there, I had contracts in hand, knocked on everyone's door, and somehow within 3 months, I had 8 signed agreements. Wow. So I said, this is amazing. But then I found out there was a 9th unit in this building. And it wasn't on property records because the person who owned the unit worked for the CIA, and none of their records are publicly available. So I said, okay, this is a little bit of a curveball, but I got 8. I can get. So I figured out somebody has to know this guy's number because he has to clean something. He has property. So I figured out through his housekeeper his number, contacted him, and had a deal with him done in 3 days, and we got that deal done. We've done a lot of condo terminations since. They haven't quite gone that smoothly. But it was a really kind of good example of when someone believes you can do something and you believe it yourself, even though it seems really, really challenging. You can kind of get that one done. So I thought that was pretty fun because it was one of the first deals I did at the fund.
And in 3 months, getting all of that done is record time, I think, in real estate.
I can be convincing when I need to be.
Amazing.
Cassie, actually, that was one of our first projects within our development division at One Sotheby's, and it was probably one of my favorites as well. I had just started the development division, and we got to work on it together from A to Z, so the whole sales and marketing campaign, so thank you for that opportunity. I would say 2 projects stand out for me. One, I obviously have to say my husband's project because he's my client. So yes, the St. Regis Residences, I can't leave that one out in Miami, in Brickell, because he would kill me. But another development that really stands out in my career was 1000 Museum. I'm sure many of you know 1000 Museum by Zaha Hadid Architects in downtown Miami. That was definitely a turning point for our company and for my career because it was a 6-year development from when they were sketching the design of the project in a napkin. We got to work closely with Zaha Hadid herself, who is one of the most iconic architects in the world, when she was sketching it to the point of delivery. So that 6-year period was really, for me, seeing it from start to finish and being there every step of the way, from creating all of the campaigns for the project, meeting with all of the buyers, and then finally delivering those residences that now sell for astronomical prices. It's when you're working in developments, it's all about consistency, and it's all about being there for the client and making sure you're there for every step of the way. So for us, that was a very important development, and we got to travel the world for that development because of its name, because of its brand. So this opened a number of doors all over the world with buyers from everywhere. So it was, for me, I would say, definitely an important development.
Well, it sounds amazing because 6 years is a long time to dedicate to a project, and I can hear the passion in each of your voices as you talk about your initial projects. So I'm sure that you guys juggle a lot. So I'll share a little bit. I'm a new mom. I have a 2-month-old at home, and so it's a bit of a struggle for me. I just went back to work, and I hear your stories, and I think that juggling being a woman and being such powerhouses at work is difficult. And I want to ask each of you how you manage that in your day to day and how you leverage everything that you know to do that. Please, Cassie, why don't you start?
Okay, well, I have three kids, a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And my husband travels nonstop. And so, it's, my career is very important to me. My kids are very important to me. And so every day, my kids come first. It's kind of how I prioritize everything that happens in every day. If there's something that comes up, doctor appointment, someone gets sick, like I have to drop what I'm doing, and they're my priority. And I think working for someone that understands that those are the choices that you're going to make, but that's also the sort of person and the loyalty that you'll have to your company, I think is very important. And you develop that over time when you've built a reputation, and you enjoy the people that you work with. I do think that I always kind of beat myself up a little bit at the end of the day. Wow, like I could have gone to that meeting later, right? I could have gotten that done today. But at the end of the day, like you have to prioritize things, and you can't get every single thing done the way you want it to, and you have to learn how to grow others and to build a team around you, and give them oversight, and grow that way. And so that's kind of been one of the biggest learning experiences, and I still have a lot of work to do on that, is developing talent, making them an extension of myself, making sure I can retrain and grow the organization as well, because I can do the work, right? But it's important for me to figure out how to offload those skill sets and develop team around me.
That's amazing. And I think that it's true that we need to invest in people that work with us. So Vanessa, I know that you manage a large team, so why don't you share a bit?
Yes, I would say, Dulce, that I think the only way that I can do my job and fulfill my role is having an incredible support system at home and at work. So like you said, Cassie, at work, building a strong team. I have some of my team members here. I can't do my job without my team. I'm as good as my team. So, training, like you said, your team, really delegating, really teaching them so that they can fulfill the role, at some point. So building a very strong team. I'm lucky I have an incredible support system in the office. And then at home, my nanny is my favorite person. She is the most consistent human being for me, and it's what allows me to work late, what allows me to travel, allows my husband and I to do both our roles, and be all over the place at all times. So it's having support, whether at home and at work, is extremely, extremely important.
Agreed 100%. Alicia, how do you manage certain things in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I also have a couple kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, and you have to like cut some things out. So I no longer have any friends. But I'm kidding, not really.
Something's gotta go. Something's gotta go right.
Something's gotta give. But no, I mean, I kind of like I time block, so I will try and always leave the office before 6:30. So that I can get home and kind of be with my kids before bed and like do dinner or whatever. And when I'm home, like everyone knows that you cannot, like I will not answer the phone, no matter basically what is happening between the time of like 6:30, 6 or 7, whenever I get home, and 8:30, 8:45 when my kids go to bed. In the morning, it's easier because they're typically out of the house by like 7:45. So no one's really calling me at 7:30 in the morning, and a lot of help. You just gotta delegate everything at home, and then at work, training.
Yes.
It's something that, and empowering people and finding the things that others do well, and letting them like do that, and then kind of trying to balance.
I think that there's a lot of people on each of our teams that want to grow and want to step up to the challenge. And I think it's up to us to help nurture them so that they do grow. And there's so many people that are capable, and sometimes it'll be uncomfortable. But if we push them just a little bit, they'll grow and show exactly what they're capable of doing. So these are also opportunities for us to help them succeed. And I have a wonderful team that I'm also able to help with that. So, Katya, I don't know if you had any insights you wanted to share either on this question.
How do you balance work and life? I don't. I feel like I've always been one of those people that works 24/7. So whether it's now or when I was working full time with RPC, I was always on call. And my first project was a 1,000-acre Caribbean hotel property that we were planning to develop, and they just handed me the keys and said, basically, figure it out. And if I had kids at home or a dog, God bless them, they would have been alone. I was flying there, probably like once a week or every 2 weeks, and basically, told to monetize this property, make it cash flowing. We had some existing challenges on the property, and we converted and renovated 56 units, sold those within 3 to 4 months. And that was my first big success and win. And going out and getting all the broker partners that we used to sell the project was a huge success. And within about a year, we had signed hotel management agreements with Rosewood, Mandarin Oriental, and we were well on our way, pre-developing the property. And I left the project when we were in schematics. So that was a really exciting time, but you absolutely did not have time to do anything else. And I still don't today, but I love what I do, luckily, and it's a lot of fun. So,
like I said, I see everyone's passion in their projects and everything that they do. So with that in mind, I just want each of you to share sort of what advice would you give to a woman that wants to get into real estate at this particular time? All right. I don't know, Katya, if you want to go ahead and start, and we'll work our way this way.
for such a long time, I tried my best to fit into a mold that I did not belong in. I always make the analogy that I feel like if I was a shape, I would be a star. And I was trying to fit myself into this development square mold. Cassie, you're doing great. But, I was like, let me wear black, let me wear gray to the office and be serious and not let any of my personality shine because that's what everyone else is doing, right? But I was completely doing a disservice to myself and my own inherent talents by doing that. And it made me unhappy ultimately, As soon as I started kind of focusing more on the skill sets that I was actually good at versus what I thought I should be doing, financial modeling and being in the Excels and underwriting for hours at a time, that's not, what I was good at, but I thought that's what I needed to be doing in order to be good at my job. And as soon as I started focusing on the things that I am good at, which is connecting with people, I'm a connector. I started doing investor relations and bringing in potential partners for the development firm, whether they were third-party service providers, brokers, et cetera. That's what I was good at. And that was when I finally started to shine at what I was doing and in being authentic to myself and, utilizing the skill sets that I was actually good at instead of trying to be something that I'm not.
And I think that resonates well with a lot of women and even with clients, that just being unique and authentic. Alicia?
Yeah, I think if someone's getting into the business, really making great notes about the people you meet. This is it's a less and less of a small town every day, but I find that if I go into my contact and it's like, after I meet someone, it's like, met this person on January 5th of 2020, and they were doing this at the time, and a couple other things about them, and it gives you kind of context. You run into people over and over again, and if you get really systematic about the way that you record information about people that you meet and create systems for follow-up, you will, succeed, because so much of things is just your ability to stay on top of it and follow up.
At least on the investment sales side, they always said people do business with people that they like. And it's just such an important takeaway. You should obviously like what you do, but you should also like who you do business with. And so in order to do that, you kind of have to let your personality show and you have to be yourself. I think a lot of women make the mistake of trying to be like one of the guys, and you're not. You're not one of the guys, and that's okay. You are different, and they will relate to you differently. How many guys tell me, oh, my wife's out of town, I'm doing this. We relate differently now. They complain to me about household stuff, and that's fine. It's a connection, right? And you have to build connections and nurture them, and they change over time. But I think if I could offer any advice, it's show who you are, show your personality, because you're testing them as well as they're testing you. And you have to make sure that you'll get along with them and they like who you are.
Our owner of One Sotheby's, I've been working there for 15 years, and she's this engraved in my brain. She says, real estate is relationship driven. And so that's very important, and especially as a woman, I think women thrive in building relationships, in connecting, they have the charisma. So I think for women in real estate, we have an upper hand in that. We thrive with building relationships. So I think, I would say my biggest advice for a woman getting into real estate now is put in the work, because the industry is changing. The industry is changing very rapidly, and you have to put in the work. If you're young and you're starting in the business, you got to pay your dues. Things don't happen very quickly. Like for all of us here, it's taken us 15 years to get to where we are. So you got to pay your dues. And
Where are we?
Well, in a good
somewhere.
But we
We're
also
somewhere.
tend
We're
to say
making
yes
coffee.
to absolutely everything,
We're not
right?
making coffee anymore. Actually, I still am.
Yes.
But,
That was the point.
but after 15, it took us 15 years of being in all different types of positions, because like you, I also started in all different types of positions. So if you're young and you're starting, things don't happen as glamorous as sometimes it looks. It's not, so you have to put in the work, you have to put in the time. Now with 2 children, sometimes I envy my teammates because they can stay in the office till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I can't do that anymore, and I wish I could, because I love that. I love to be able to work late and brainstorm and work with the team. So now I can't put in as much time as I'd like to, because it's like every minute counts in our day. Every minute you gotta make sure you wake up and you don't have 1 minute to spare because they got to get to school, and then you don't have 1 minute to spare because you got to pick them up. So it's take the time to put in the work now, and it'll pay off later. And if you're older and you're trying to start in the industry, you have to take advantage of all of the resources that are available to you, to go to the trainings, to go to the sessions, to go to what the Florida Realtors, what we provide, what other companies provide. There's a great session being hosted by another company next week on the state of the market. Go to all of those sessions, meet people, and network, and just learn the industry.
And
I
I
think
think-
that there's a saying that summarizes what you were sharing, which is every overnight success takes 10 years to build, something like that. It's so true.
100% correct. And what you see is just
You don't
the
see
tip
everything.
of the iceberg of all the work that was put in before it.
Especially in today's industry with social media, all you see is the pretty picture that people want you to see versus all of the sweat, blood, and tears, late nights at the office, working weekends that actually went into it.
Correct. Agree with you 100%. And I think all of you are sort of shining examples of the hard work that it took to get where you're at. And the most crucial thing is you haven't forgotten that, because a lot of people, once they've reached a certain place, they forget. And it's so important to remember that that's where we started and how hard we worked to get here. So I have one last question for you all, and it's sort of where you see the future of real estate. So I don't know, Vanessa, I think you'd be great to start with this one.
Okay, okay. I love that question because that's what we're talking when now in all of our trainings and our sessions we have 1,300 agents in the company. That's basically what it's all about right now. It's what's the future of real estate. And I think that now with all, with many changes, the industry has been changing since COVID. I mean, we saw how drastically the industry changed 3-4 years ago, and now how it's changing. So the future, I love the business. I love what we do. I think that it's just going to get better from here for the real estate associates that really thrive and really put in the work and are true professionals. I think that now is a time where those who are really good at what they do are going to exceed and are going to excel. I'm very, very excited about what the future holds, honestly. I think that those that don't take it seriously are going to weed out of the business, and those that really take it seriously and it's a career and it's a profession are going to thrive. And I think in terms of the market, we continue to have an enormous demand in South Florida, especially us. We see it, all throughout Florida's East Coast. Florida is always on the map. Yesterday, we saw an article on Bloomberg Wealth about Coral Gables being one of the best neighborhoods, ritziest neighborhoods in the country. So Florida, the demand here is going to continue, and we're excited to be a part of it. So I'm very excited.
I would just say what I see anyway is, hotels are always about creating a custom experience. And you're seeing that transcend into luxury real estate and other forms of even, rental apartments now, that people are trying to sell the experience along with the lifestyle. And so everything's getting branded. There's a story, right? People want to spend more of their income on experiences than consumer goods. And that's translating into real estate. And so, we just bought a resort in the Tampa area called Saddlebrook, and it's got 45 tennis courts and 2 golf courses, but we're going to try to create like experiential real estate there, right? Come, stay, play tennis, play golf, create these package business. And that's kind of the future of everything, right? You go on Airbnb these days. It's not just about selling, a nightly rental. It's also about what experiences can you add on to your stay so that you have like an amazing trip. And I think that the more people pivot and figure out how to adapt to that, the more success they'll have in the real estate projects that they're working on.
From a pre-construction kind of development perspective, I spent a lot of time studying different neighborhoods and trying to, position our various projects and the kind of macro or microeconomic drivers of that area that was going to make this development like the best purchase ever. So, but in all reality, what I have witnessed and what I continue to see, is a city where, dreams and promises become reality. I remember standing at the Marquee, Miami, which maybe you guys know what this is. This is like 2010. And I was telling buyers, they're going to build a brand new art and science museum right across the street over there. I swear it's happening. They almost have the funding. And they're going to build this underwater tunnel. It's going to take all of these 18-wheelers out of downtown so that downtown is actually like a high-end neighborhood. And I promise they're going to build it. And, time goes by, but this is a city with a clear vision of being one of the most incredible places to live and do business in the world. And Miami has invested and committed to that vision. And time after time, you see the city doing things and investing in things that continue to catapult us into the center of the world stage. Right now, you see it with the development of the Signature Bridge. They take down, I'm not going to refer to any of our transit systems as a perfectly good, but let's say it, a perfectly good highway that works and takes you to Miami Beach, to tear it down and build an amazing Signature Bridge with over a linear mile of parks underneath this structure, elevating the underpass so that we can have a cohesive greater downtown Miami neighborhood where it does not feel blighted because you're walking like 10 feet under, like the shaking, dirty thing. And that is, I think, one of the clear underlying reasons that our city is going to continue to perform and to increase in value. It's not just because we have great weather and tax benefits and all the rest. The city itself is investing in the future, and I think that it's going to be a good one.
I came to Miami for college and then I never left. And I still look around 10 years later and I ask myself, how did I get so lucky to actually choose Miami as the place to stay? Right? It was exciting then, and I think it's, 10x that since. And you continue to see, macroeconomic fundamentals are super strong here in Miami. We historically bounce back faster from recessions than other metro markets. We continue to have a faster population growth rate here than in other cities. We're propped up by an international market of buyers. Every time something happens in Latin America, people continue to invest here. And not only people, but cities. I think we have like the second highest concentration of billionaires here now, right? So all of these are really exciting markers that are continuing to help grow our city. And you can see it. You can see it in the skyline, how it's evolving every single day. And you can see it in the investment, in the parks, in the infrastructure, in the development projects. We're continuing to attract all of these exciting brands like Pagani, St. Regis, Bentley, you name it. We have more branded residences now than anywhere except for Dubai. So I think it's a really exciting place to be. Again, market fundamentals are strong here, and I think that they will continue to be.
Well, ladies, I want to take the opportunity to thank you all, and please give them all a round of applause to say thank you.